Plumbing, all the electrical, and all the HVAC had to be ripped out because it wasn't code compliant.
Wait a minute. Plumbing, HVAC, electrical, all had to be ripped out? All of those services had to be ripped out and replaced? That's insane. That's some of the biggest line item costs of these types of builds. So you mean to tell me that this guy was doing all of this work without pulling permits? Because here's the thing, city inspectors are, in a way, your friend as a homeowner. I recently came across this video of a contractor out in Philadelphia, construction contractor that has allegedly been scamming his clientele for years. And unfortunately, here in Detroit, we know of this story all too well. There are numbers of stories of homeowners and investors and landlords that work with contractors that ultimately take your money and never accomplish or finish said agreed upon scope of work to be done. Contractors will find themselves doing well at first and having a few wins under their belt, but then they take on too much work all in one short period of time. And so you have all of these people giving you deposits and expecting you to have a job finished in a particular window of time that you've promised. And you look up and you've potentially started their work, but you're months behind when it comes to completing it. And in some scenarios, contractors just say, hey, look, take me to court for that deposit that you gave and figure it out. If you've tried your hand at fixing and flipping or developing property from a commercial standpoint or a single family, you've run across a contractor that you believed was legit. You gave them a deposit, or potentially in my scenario, I've actually paid the full invoice of a plumber, which is just, and this is just one example, but for this plumber in this example, I paid them the full $4,000 of invoice that they hit me with to purchase the material and finish what they needed to do with this property. And they stopped answering their phone. They just disappeared off the face of this earth. The crazy part about it is this plumber was somebody who worked on a number of properties for me in the past, but this was the largest property or project that I gave them the opportunity to execute on, and they just literally just disappeared. Every so often, I think I'm going to run into him at the local Home Depot, and I'm thinking through what I would do if and when I do, but that's water under the bridge. In this scenario, I wanted to highlight just how frequent this type of activity is, and it's only going to get worse because the skilled trade realm is getting more and more tougher for us as investors and landlords to have access to individuals that can actually execute what their scope of work is, and what we as homeowners and landlords need to have done. So let's jump into it.
A mainline contractor is the focus of an Action News investigation tonight. He's accused of taking money, not finishing jobs, and using alleged stolen funds while he allegedly drives around in pricey cars.
His alleged victims say he played the part, but when it came time to build and finish projects, he didn't deliver.
It's been a long year.
Kyle
That was a beautiful house, by the way.
Allen began building his dream home in Gladwin during the summer of 2023.
It was essentially framed with house wrap.
And over 2 years later,
Totally unlevel.
it remains unfinished.
Wow. So you started the build out of your dream home in 2023, and here it is 2025, and you're still at this phase of the construction. That's unfortunate.
To me, it seems like he took about 70% of the budget, and he delivered about 15 or 20% of the actual project.
Allen said
70% of the budget. I guess that is one of the first mistakes that this homeowner did. There should have been milestones that this contractor needed to meet before getting to a point where they are paid out any extra funding for their work on a new build such as this. Waivers needed to be collected, certain, once again, milestones. And if those milestones aren't met, then I gotta find another GC that can execute. And you also need to verify that these general contractors are bonded in the event that if they cannot execute, their bond comes in place and in turn allows for you to be able to afford whatever mishaps financially and challenges and issues that this GC may have created on the site in order for you to be made whole.
His contract price was for $1.2 million, and he estimates he paid and lost about $500,000 in unfinished work.
All the plumbing, all the electrical, and all the HVAC had to be ripped out because it wasn't code compliant.
Wait a minute. Plumbing, HVAC, electrical, all had to be ripped out? All of those services had to be ripped out and replaced? That's insane. That's some of the biggest line item costs of these types of builds. So you mean to tell me that this guy was doing all of this work without pulling permits? Because here's the thing, city inspectors are in a way your friend as a homeowner. The inspectors come out and they call out some very important things very early on. And so if you're doing unpermitted work, then you're going to more than likely have an issue down the line. Eventually, when you plan on selling the property and when the new owner tries to purchase the property, the city may find out that this new build wasn't even inspected in some aspects of what was done. And they may even have you cut open some of the walls in order to verify that the studs are at a certain distance and you have insulation that is code compliant, things of that nature.
And he just did it all wrong.
Allen says simply the builder, Mike Monahan, always complained of being short on money, so he continued to pay, trusting Monahan would deliver. But red flag after red flag emerged.
Subcontract came up to me and said, Mike's not paying me.
Monahan would drive around in a $150,000 GMC Hummer, make social media posts like this, referring to a Ferrari, saying, "My new baby finally arrived."
He wasn't paying the subcontractors. Once again, you need to have those waivers because those subcontractors are adding potential liens on this property if they don't get paid.
Court papers, Monahan has denied.
And what helps you with the avoidance of those liens piling up are gaining your waivers. There are conditional waivers and unconditional waivers. The conditional waivers are where a GC or a subcontractor will say, hey, look, I'm going to give you a conditional waiver for this current work that we've done. The scope of work says that we still have to finish the rest of the installation of this HVAC system. But at the very least, we were able to run the duct work. And so you're going to pay me a certain amount of money for this milestone. And I'm going to sign this conditional waiver until we finish the total scope of work, which is where I finish the HVAC system in its entirety. I get the city to sign off on my work via the permit process. And at that point, once you pay me my money at that point, I'm going to give you an unconditional waiver, which can be used in the event that there is a lien on this site. You have this unconditional waiver that can say, wait, why is there a lien when I have this document that states that I've paid you everything you needed to get paid? And so that lien hypothetically is null and void. So very, very important if you're doing any type of work with GCs and subs, you're getting your waivers signed at every point of the process.
It was maddening.
David McIntyre hired Monahan for a renovation of his Havertown home in 2024. He found Monahan on a contracting sourcing website.
This project has been probably the most stressful thing Heidi and I have gone through.
The most stressful thing he's gone through in his life. Like, that's how bad working with contractors that don't execute and steal your money, that's how bad it feels. It's extremely frustrating because you've given this person your trust. You've sat down with them. They took you through the dog and pony show, and you've gotten to a point where you're trusting this person to execute on what they're promising to do, what you're needing to do, because this is your home. This is where you lay your head. And for them to not execute in this example, allegedly, This is extremely frustrating because as a homeowner, you feel like you've been duped. You feel like you did your due diligence. You feel like you trusted this guy's character. But then all of a sudden, your home is in disarray because this person potentially started their work, didn't finish it. It's been 6 months. It's been almost a year. Now you have to go find another contractor to finish this last contractor's work. And when this new contractor comes on board, they're saying that the previous contractor did a ishy job. And so we're going to have to tear out everything they did to begin with. That's the reality of going through this type of experience.
Allen and McIntyre are among a dozen homeowners and businesses now suing Monahan. Among the accusations in court records, he allegedly used the seal and signature of a dead architect for a Malvern renovation.
Wait a minute. He used the seal and signature from a deceased architect to push through construction plans on a property, allegedly. That's fraud.
Allegedly leading to a homeowner losing $120,000. Another client accused him of concocting bogus change orders or upgrades and creating fraudulent invoices. And at some point, Monahan changed his business name, dropping the G in Monahan.
I suspect that he has tried to change his name because if somebody Googles him, they're going to see all these complaints and things like that.
We went to Monahan's Paoli home to get answers. The one with the Range Rover in the driveway and a license plate that reads YOLO 1.
You only live once? Wow. This guy has a license plate that says YOLO 1. That's funny.
Mike Monahan, I'm Chad Perdelli, Channel 6 Action News. I'd like to talk to you about some questions.
When you have the news coming to your door, knocking on your door, I mean that's not a good sign. That is not a good sign. I hope and pray that I never find myself in this predicament.
He didn't comment.
Mike.
Monahan's legal troubles go beyond civil cases. In 2015, he pleaded guilty to forgery and theft related to obtaining prescription drugs. This year, he pleaded guilty to providing false information on a gun purchase application, and he was charged with DUI and writing bad checks. Those charges are pending. Allen says he cut off contact with Monahan, but he repeatedly showed up in front of his home, following up one time with a text, "Karma will have us meet again."
He's saying it to intimidate me. He's saying it to threaten me.
The audacity of this person pulling up to this homeowner's home, threatening him with text messages, allegedly saying that karma is going to have us meet again when you're the one that owes me a finished property. That is just insane. I'm really hoping that these homeowners are made whole in one format or another, but this is going to be an ongoing scenario that happens across the country, and I think it's only going to get worse. So if you're an investor, homeowner, working with or looking to work with a contractor, protect yourself, do your research, get referrals from individuals that they've worked with in the past in order for you to make a better decision as to who you're going to give such an important job and opportunity to. You got to be vigilant when you're working with GCs. Otherwise, you may find yourself in a predicament similar to what we're witnessing here. So thanks for chiming in, listening to me ramble. I'll see you in the next video.